Nobody noticed Danny Webb until the day the survival test was announced. He sat in the back of Lecture Hall 7 at the Galactic Military Academy, surrounded by cadets from 12 different species. There were saurine reptilians with their scaled faces and nervous eyes, featherkin avians with hollow bones and sharp vision, tide-borne amphibians whose skin glistened with moisture, crystalline beings who communicated through pulses of light, and one human. Danny was average height, average build, with brown hair that never quite stayed flat. His physical scores placed him in the middle of every category. Not the fastest, not the strongest, not the smartest. Just there, always carrying a worn bag over his shoulder that nobody ever asked about. Instructor Morith entered the hall. The massive insectoid Krellian stood 8 feet tall, with 4 arms and mandibles that clicked when he spoke. Every cadet fell silent. The crucible begins in 48 hours, Morith announced. The room erupted in whispers. The crucible was legendary. 72 hours of survival on Heron. 4. A death world with temperature swings of over 100 degrees, toxic plants, and predators that had killed cadets in previous years. The failure rate was 30%. The death rate was small but real. You will be dropped in randomized squads of 5, Morith continued. You must reach the extraction point within the time limit. Standard survival kits will be provided. Nothing else. A serene cadet named Rix raised his hand. Instructor, what about species-specific equipment? My thermal regulation is poor. I need nothing else, Morith repeated. The galaxy does not care about your needs. Adapt or fail. Rix slumped in his seat. Around the room, other cadets showed similar fear. The featherkin named Nella clutched her thin arms around herself. The Tideborn called Gorik checked his moisture levels for the 10th time that hour. Only Danny remained calm. After the lecture ended, Rix caught up with Danny in the corridor. The reptilian's yellow eyes narrowed at the human's relaxed expression. You do not seem worried, Rix said. Are humans too stupid to understand danger? Danny smiled. I'm worried, but I'm also ready. Ready? The announcement just happened. How can anyone be ready? Danny lifted his bag slightly. I packed this on my first day at the academy. Just in case. Rick stared at him. What is in there? Emergency weapons? Nanomedical kits? Classified technology? Snacks, mostly. The reptilian's jaw dropped open. Snacks. And some other stuff? Dried meat. Salt tablets. Hydration gel. Thermal blankets. Water filter. Fire kit. Rope. Danny shrugged. Humans call it being prepared. We have a saying back home. Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. That is... Rick struggled for words. That is insane. You brought food to a military academy because you expected a survival test. I brought food because I'm human. We always expect things to go wrong. It's kind of our whole deal. Nella the Featherkin approached them, her large eyes blinking rapidly. Did I hear correctly? The human has supplies. Snacks, Rick said flatly. The human brought snacks. Not just snacks, Danny corrected. Useful snacks. High calorie, long shelf life, easy to carry. On Earth, our ancestors walked across entire continents. They survived ice ages, deserts, and predators bigger than Instructor Morith. You know how? They planned ahead. They carried what they needed. Gorik the Tideborn joined the growing group, his amphibian face curious. Humans are from a death world too, yes? Class 4, Class 12, actually, Danny said. The others went quiet. Class 12 was the second highest danger rating for a habitable planet. It meant extreme weather, constant predation, and an environment that actively tried to kill everything on it. Your species survived a Class 12 world, Nellis said slowly. And your solution was to pack snacks? Our solution was to never stop moving, never stop thinking, and never stop helping each other. Danny adjusted his bag. The snacks are just part of it. A crystalline cadet named Brell approached, light pulsing from their translucent body. The pulses translated through Danny's earpiece. Query. Human Danny Webb confident in survival. Danny considered the question. Confident? No. Prepared? Yes. There's a difference. Confidence means you think nothing will go wrong. Preparation means you know everything will go wrong. and you planned for it anyway. Rix shook his head. Humans are strange creatures. Yeah, Danny agreed. But we're still here. 70,000 years of being strange, and we're still here. The group dispersed to prepare for the test in their own ways. Rix reviewed survival protocols. Nella pratica scouting technique. Gorik checked his moisture supplies obsessively. Danny went to his quarters and opened his bag. He counted everything inside, reorganized it for the 100th time, and added 3 more protein bars he had been saving. Through his window, he could see the transport ships being prepared in the hangar bay. In 48 hours, those ships would take them to a planet designed to kill them. Danny pulled out a small photograph from his pocket. A young girl with the same brown hair smiled back at him. His sister Lily, 12 years old, waiting for him back on Earth. "Promised I'd come home," he whispered, not planning to break that promise. He tucked the photo away, sealed his bag, and went to sleep. Somewhere in the academy, Instructor Morith reviewed the cadet files on his screen. He paused on Danny Webb's profile, noting the unremarkable scores and the single comment from a previous instructor: adequate performance. Nothing notable. Morith's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Nothing notable yet. The drop pod hit the ground hard enough to rattle teeth. Danny was the first one out, scanning the jungle around them while the others recovered from the landing. 3 suns hung in the purple sky of Heron. 4, and the heat was already brutal. 95 degrees and climbing. His squad had been randomly assigned. Rix the Serene, already panting from the temperature. Nella the Featherkin, her hollow bones making her light but fragile. Gorik the Tideborn, whose amphibian skin was starting to dry. And Brel the Crystalline, whose body was absorbing too much heat. 5 species. 1 mission. 40 kilometers to checkpoint Alpha. "We need to move," Danny said. "Standing still in this heat will kill us faster than walking." Rix hissed. "Easy for you to say. Oman Suyat. My species does not have that luxury. Then stay in the shade when you can and keep drinking water." Danny pulled out his bag and tossed Rix a hydration gel pack. "Small sips. Make it last." The reptilian caught it with surprise. "You are sharing your supplies?" "We're a squad. My supplies are our supplies." They started walking. Nella took to the trees, her light body perfect for scouting. She reported back through their communicators, guiding them around predator territories and toxic plant clusters. By hour 3, Gorik was struggling. His moisture reserves were dropping fast, and his movements became sluggish. Danny called for a rest stop under a massive tree with broad leaves. "I'm slowing you down," Gorik said, his voice tired. "Leave me. Complete the mission." "Not happening." Danny opened his bag and pulled out more supplies. Hydration gel for Gorik, a reflective thermal blanket for Brel, whose crystalline body was overheating dangerously. Salt tablets for Rix to help retain water. Nella landed beside them, tilting her head. "The standard survival kit does not contain these items." "My bag is my standard kit," Danny replied. "Humans just interpret the rules differently." "You mean you cheated?" "I mean I prepared. There's no rule against bringing your own bag. There's no rule about what you put inside it. I just thought about what I might need and packed accordingly." Brel pulsed light in Danny's direction. The translation came through. Statement: "Human Danny Webb thinks like prey that became predator." Danny laughed. "That's exactly what humans are. We spent 1,000,000 years being hunted by everything on our planet. Then we figured out how to hunt back. But we never forgot what it felt like to be the prey. That's why we prepare. That's why we help each other. Because alone, we die. Together, we survive." They rested for 20 minutes, then continued. The heat peaked at 110 degrees, and even Danny was sweating heavily. But he kept moving, kept checking on his squad mates, kept sharing his supplies in small, careful portions. By hour 6, they had covered 15 kilometers. Good progress, but not enough. Then Nella's voice crackled over the communicator. "Stop. Movement ahead. Large predator." Everyone froze. Through the dense vegetation, Danny could see it. A thornback. 6 legs, armored hide, and a mouth full of teeth designed to crush bone. It was easily twice the size of Gorik, and it had caught their scent. "Do not move," Rix whispered. "Thornbacks hunt by motion." They also hunt by smell, Danny said quietly. And it already has ours. The thornback turned toward them. Its nostrils flared. It took one step forward. Danny reached into his bag. What are you doing? Rix hissed. There is no weapon that can stop a thornback. I'm not trying to stop it. Danny pulled out a package of dried meat. I'm trying to redirect it. He threw the meat as far as he could in the opposite direction. The package landed in a bush 30 meters away, releasing the smell of preserved protein. The thornback's head snapped toward the new scent. It hesitated, looking between the squad and the easier meal. Then it lumbered toward the meat, disappearing into the jungle. Nobody moved for a full minute. That worked, Nella said finally. How did you know that would work? I didn't know. I hoped. Danny shouldered his bag. On Earth, we learned early that sometimes the best way to survive a predator is to give it something else to eat. Usually it was slower members of the group. I figured snacks were a better option. Rick stared at him. Your species survived by feeding each other to predators? My species survived by doing whatever it took. We're not proud of everything our ancestors did, but we learned from it. Now we protect each other instead of sacrificing each other. We just needed a few thousand years to figure that out. They continued walking as the suns began their slow descent. The temperature would drop soon, and Danny knew what was coming. The briefing had mentioned temperature swings. He had read between the lines. The freezing night would be worse than the burning day. We need to find shelter, he announced. Somewhere we can build a fire and stay warm. Warm? Gorik asked. The current temperature is excessive. Not for long. This planet has 3 suns, which means when they all set, the heat disappears fast. We're looking at -30 tonight. Maybe colder. The squad exchanged worried looks. Rix, cold-blooded. Nella, tiny body mass. Brel, crystalline structure that could crack in extreme cold. Gorik, amphibian skin that would freeze. Danny was the only one built for temperature swings. Find shelter, he repeated. I'll keep everyone alive through the night. Nobody questioned him. Somewhere in the last 6 hours, the unremarkable human with a bag full of snacks had become their leader. And Danny Webb was just getting started. Cold came like a predator in the dark. The 3 suns dropped below the horizon within minutes of each other, and the temperature plummeted. What had been 100 degrees became 50, then 30, then 0. By the second hour of darkness, the air bit like knives. Danny had found them a cave. Not deep, but enough to block the wind. He worked quickly, gathering dry wood before the light disappeared completely, building a fire pit with stones to reflect heat inward. His squad mates huddled together, shivering despite the flames. Rix had stopped moving almost entirely. His reptilian body was shutting down, conserving energy as his cold blood thickened. Nella wrapped her wings around herself, her tiny body losing heat faster than she could generate it. Brel's crystalline surface had developed small cracks from the temperature change. Gorik's amphibian skin was turning pale and stiff. Danny pulled out his thermal blankets. 2 of them, both reflective silver. He wrapped one around Nella and Rix together, forcing them to share body heat. The other went around Brel, trapping the warmth from the fire against the crystalline body. What about Gorik? Nella asked through chattering teeth. Amphibians need moisture more than warmth. Danny produced heating pads from his bag and placed them against Gorik's chest and back. These will keep his core warm. The rest of him can handle the cold better than you think. Gorik's eyes flickered open. Where did you get medical heating pads? Borrowed them from the Academy Medical Bay. That is theft. That is preparation. Danny added more wood to the fire. Nobody ever checks the supply closets. I checked the supply closets. The night stretched on. Danny stayed awake, feeding the fire, rotating the blankets, checking each squad mate's condition every 30 minutes. When the fire started to die, he went out into the frozen darkness to gather more wood. When Nella's shivering became dangerous, he held her close to transfer his own body heat. You should sleep, Rix mumbled, his voice slow and thick from the cold. Even humans need rest. Humans can go 3 days without sleep, Danny replied. It's not fun, and it makes us stupid, but we can do it. Right now, keeping everyone alive is more important than my comfort. Why? Brel's light pulses were weak, but the question came through. Statement: Squad members are not your species. Query: Why sacrifice personal well-being for strangers? Danny considered the question while adding another log to the fire. Because that's what humans do. We see someone struggling, we help. It doesn't matter if they look like us or not. It doesn't matter if we know them. Something in our brains just says help them. So we do. That is illogical, Rick said. Completely illogical, Danny agreed. And yet here I am, keeping 4 aliens alive on a frozen death world because my monkey brain tells me it's the right thing to do. Around midnight, Brell's crystals picked up a signal. A distress beacon from another squad, less than a kilometer away. Their shelter had collapsed. They were trapped and freezing. Danny stood immediately. You cannot go out there, Nella said. The temperature is -35. You will die. They will definitely die if I don't. He took one thermal blanket, a handful of heating pads, and nothing else. His squad needed the rest of the supplies. Then he walked into the frozen darkness. The cold hit him like a wall. His breath crystallized instantly. Ice formed on his eyebrows and hair within seconds. Every step was agony, but he kept moving. He found the other squad after 20 minutes of walking. Their cave had indeed collapsed. 2 cadets were dead, their bodies already stiff. 3 were alive, but barely. A small insectoid cadet named Yin was the worst off, barely breathing. Danny wrapped Yin in the thermal blanket and lifted the cadet onto his shoulders. I'll be back for the others, he promised the survivors. Stay together. Share warmth. He carried Yin back to his squad's cave. Then he turned around and walked back into the cold. 3 trips. For hours. Each journey was worse than the last. His body temperature dropped lower and lower. His fingers went numb, then his feet. Frostbite began forming on his ears and nose. On the final trip, one of the cadets died in his arms. A serene like Rick's, whose cold blood had simply stopped flowing. Danny carried the body anyway. They deserved a proper burial. When he finally returned to the cave for the last time, Danny collapsed. His core temperature had dropped to dangerous levels. Hypothermia was setting in. His body was shutting down, just like Rick's had earlier, except humans were not built to survive that. Rick's moved first. The reptilian, warmed enough to function again, crawled over and pressed his body against Danny's. Gorik did the same from the other side. Nella wrapped her wings around Danny's head to protect his ears. Brell adjusted the thermal blanket to cover him. The squad that Danny had saved was now saving him. Sometime during the night, Danny woke briefly. His eyes were unfocused, his words slurred. Lily, he mumbled. Promised Lily. Who is Lily? Rick's asked. Sister. Little sister. Back home. Promised I'd come back. Danny's eyes closed again. Can't break promises to little sisters. He fell unconscious. The squad kept him warm through the rest of the night, taking turns feeding the fire, staying awake in shifts. Danny Webb had almost died, saving people who were not even a species. Nobody in the cave understood why, but they would never forget it. Morning light brought warmth, but no relief. Danny woke to pain. His fingers burned with returning circulation. His ears throbbed where frostbite had touched them. Every muscle in his body screamed from exhaustion and cold damage. But he was alive. The cave was crowded now. His original squad of 5 had grown to 8 with the survivors he had rescued. Yin the insectoid was awake, but weak. The other 2 survivors, a featherkin named Dar and a tideborn named Kessa, were recovering slowly. 3 cadets had died in the night. 2 in a collapsed shelter before Danny arrived. 1 in his arms during the final trip. Danny tried to sit up and nearly fell over. Do not move. Rix pressed him back down. Your body is damaged. You need rest. We need to keep moving. The extraction point is still 25 kilometers away. You almost died last night. Your species is supposed to be tough. You do not look tough right now. Danny laughed weakly. Humans are tough, but we're not invincible. We just refuse to quit. He forced himself upright despite Rix's protests. How's everyone else? Gorik approached, his amphibian face serious. We are all alive because of you. The rescued cadets are grateful, but we have a problem. Supplies? Supplies. We were already low. Now we have 8 mouths instead of 5, and nearly 40 hours of test remaining. Danny nodded slowly, his mind working despite the exhaustion. What do we have left? The inventory was grim. For hydration gel packs, 2 protein bars, 1 thermal blanket in usable condition, half a pack of salt tablets. The fire kit was nearly empty. The water filter still worked, but finding clean water on Heron 4 was dangerous. 8 cadets, 40 hours, barely enough supplies for 3. We should split up, Dar the Featherkin suggested. Smaller groups move faster, use fewer resources. Smaller groups die faster, Danny replied. Alone, any one of us is prey. Together, we're something else. What are we together? Kessa asked. Too slow to run, too weak to fight. What advantage does grouping provide? Danny stood on shaking legs. His body was screaming at him to stop, to rest, to give up. He ignored it. Together, we think. 8 minds working on 1 problem is better than 2 minds working on 4 problems. Together, we watch each other's backs. Together, we keep each other going when we want to quit. He looked at each of them in turn. Rix, who had mocked humans as stupid just days ago. Nella, whose hollow bones made her fragile, but whose eyes could see further than anyone. Gorik, whose moisture needs made him vulnerable, but whose strength was unmatched. Brel, whose crystalline body was cracked but still functional. Yin, Dar, and Kessa, strangers 12 hours ago, now bound by survival. Humans have another saying, Danny continued. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. We need to go far today, so we go together. Nobody argued. They left the cave as the temperature climbed. Danny rationed the supplies carefully. Small sips of hydration gel, tiny pieces of protein bar, just enough to keep moving, never enough to feel satisfied. The landscape changed as they traveled. The dense jungle gave way to rocky terrain, then to a valley that the briefing documents had called the killing floor. Carnivorous plants, territorial turumbuks, minimal cover. We should go around, Dar suggested, eyeing the valley with fear. Going around adds 12 kilometers, Danny said. We don't have time. Going through might kill us. Staying here will definitely kill us. Danny studied the valley, planning their route. We move fast, stay together, and don't stop for anything. Nella, you scout from above. Gorik, you take point. Rix, watch our backs. Brel, keep tracking any movement. They entered the valley. The first hour was tense but uneventful. Danny used the last of his dried meat to create false trails, leading predators away from their path. Nella spotted threats from above and guided them around danger zones. The squad moved like a single organism, each member playing their role. Then they met another squad. 5 cadets, led by a massive Krellian named Sorith. They emerged from the rocks ahead, blocking the path. Sorith's mandibles clicked with amusement when he saw Danny's ragged group. The human, Sorith said. I heard you have been playing hero, saving weaklings, sharing supplies. Just try to survive, Danny replied carefully. Survival requires strength. The weak die, so the strong may live. Sorith stepped forward. Give us your supplies, your water, your food, your thermal blanket. Give us everything, and we will let you continue. Danny's squad tensed. Gorik's hands curled into fists. Rix's tail twitched with agitation. No, Danny said simply. No. Sorith laughed. Human, you can barely stand. Your squad is half dead. You have no weapons and no strength. How do you plan to refuse? By offering something better. Danny met the Krellian's eyes without flinching. Join us. Share resources, share strength. 8 cadets survive together because we work together. Your 5 can become 13. 13 is better than 5. Cooperation is weakness. Cooperation is why humans rule our planet. We were never the strongest, never the fastest, but we worked together, and we survived everything our world threw at us. Danny spread his hands. The choice is yours. Fight us and lose cadets on both sides. Or join us, and everyone survives. Sorith stared at him for a long moment. Then the Krellian laughed again, cold and dismissive. Humans, prey animals with delusions of importance. Keep your cooperation. We will reach extraction without your help. Sorith's squad pushed past them, continuing down the valley. Danny watched them go, then turned to his own squad. Let's move. We're wasting daylight. Nobody asked about the confrontation. They all knew it was not over. Screaming echoed through the valley. Danny's squad heard it first. The sound of panic, of terror, of something going very wrong. It came from ahead, where Sorith's squad had disappeared just 30 minutes earlier. Keep moving, Dar said nervously. Not our problem. Danny stopped walking. Nella, what do you see? The featherkin launched into the air, circling once before landing. Her face was pale. Thornback Alpha. Massive. Sorith's squad is scattered. 2 down, maybe dead. The others are running. Running draws predator attention. Rick said, they will all die. Danny made his decision in half a second. Everyone stay here. Stay quiet. Stay together. I'm going to help. Help. Gorik grabbed his arm. Danny, you can barely walk. You have no supplies left. What can you possibly do against an alpha thornback? I don't know yet. Danny pulled free. But I have to try. He moved toward the screaming. The scene was chaos. Sorith's squad had stumbled into an alpha thornback's territory. The creature was enormous, 3 times the size of the one they had encountered before. Its armored hide was scarred from countless fights. Its teeth were stained with old blood. 2 Krellians lay motionless on the ground. Sorith himself was backed against a rock formation, mandibles clicking in terror. The other 2 squad members were nowhere to be seen, probably fled. The thornback circled its prey in no hurry. It knew there was no escape. Danny picked up a rock. Hey! He threw it, hitting the creature's armored flank. Over here. The thornback turned. Its massive head swung toward this new threat. Eyes the size of dinner plates focused on the small human standing in the open. Yeah, that's right. Danny spread his arms wide, making himself look bigger. Look at me. I'm the threat here, not them. The creature took a step toward him. Danny did not run. Running triggered the chase instinct. Running made you prey. Instead, he stood perfectly still and stared directly into the thornback's eyes. Seconds passed. The creature studied him. Danny could hear his own heartbeat, could feel the sweat rolling down his back despite the fear screaming in his brain. The thornback took another step. Danny held his ground. Something shifted in the creature's posture. Confusion, maybe, or recognition. This small thing was not behaving like food. Food ran. Food panicked. This thing just stood there, watching, waiting. On Earth, humans had been prey for millions of years. But they had also been something else. Persistence predators. Creatures that did not chase, did not pounce, but simply followed. Endlessly, tirelessly, until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. Predators recognized other predators. The thornback snorted once, a sound like grinding rocks. Then it turned away, losing interest in a target that refused to act like prey. It lumbered off into the rocks, seeking easier meals. Danny's legs gave out. He sat down hard, his whole body shaking. Sorith approached slowly, his arrogance completely gone. You saved me. Why? I threatened you. I insulted your species. Yeah, you did. Danny accepted the Krellian's hand, letting himself be pulled upright. But you're still a person, and I don't let people die if I can help it. That makes no sense. It makes human sense. Danny looked at the 2 fallen Krellians. Are they alive? One was dead. The other was badly injured but breathing. Danny helped Sorith carry the survivor back to where his squad waited. Nobody questioned the addition. Nobody complained about another mouth to feed. They had nothing left to feed anyway. The final push to extraction began. 15 kilometers through the worst terrain on the planet. Danny led from the front despite his exhaustion, despite his injuries, despite every rational voice in his head telling him to stop. Nilla scouted. Gorik carried the injured Krellian. Rix watched for predators. Brel tracked movement. Everyone had a role. Everyone contributed. As they walked, Sorith fell in his step beside Danny. I was wrong about humans, the Krellian said quietly. I thought cooperation was weakness. But you have survived things that should have killed you, and you did it by helping others. Helping others isn't weakness, Danny replied. It's strategy. If I help you today, you might help me tomorrow. If we both survive, we can help someone else. It compounds. One act of kindness becomes two, becomes four, becomes eight. That's how humans conquered Earth. Not through strength, through multiplication of cooperation. Your species is more dangerous than I realized. Danny smiled tiredly. We prefer to call it friendly. The extraction point appeared as the sun began to set. A landing zone marked with lights, with medical teams waiting, with the promise of warmth and food and rest. Danny's squad was the third to arrive. Behind them, struggling through the final kilometers, came the remnants of Sorith's people. Behind them came others, drawn by the trail Danny's group had blazed, following the path of least resistance to survival. Instructor Morith stood at the extraction point, watching. His drone had recorded everything. Every act of sacrifice, every moment of leadership, every impossible choice Danny had made to keep strangers alive. The insectoid made another note in his file. Human cadet demonstrates unprecedented survival instincts. Recommend immediate observation. Danny barely noticed. He was too busy counting heads, making sure everyone made it, refusing to rest until the last straggler crossed the line. 48 hours. 8 original squad mates. 3 additions from rescues. 2 from Sorith's group. 13 cadets alive because 1 human refused to stop helping. The test was over, but Danny Webb's real trial was just beginning. The medical bay was quiet except for the beeping of machines. Danny lay in bed, hooked to monitors that tracked his recovery. Frostbite treatment on his fingers and ears. Rehydration fluids in his arm. Muscle repair therapy for the damage he had done pushing through exhaustion. The doctors said he was lucky to be alive. His core temperature had dropped low enough to cause permanent damage. His body had burned through every reserve it had, then kept going on pure stubbornness. A human thing, apparently. Rix visited first. The reptilian stood awkwardly at the door, his tail twitching. I came to apologize. Danny blinked. For what? For calling your species stupid. For doubting you. For, Rix struggled with the words. For not understanding what humans are. What are we? Insane. Generous. Stubborn. Impossible. Rix shook his head. You almost died for people you had never met. You shared supplies with strangers. You face an alpha predator with nothing but eye contact. None of that makes sense. It makes human sense. Yes. And that terrifies me more than anything on Heron. For. Danny laughed, then winced as his damaged muscles protested. Glad I could help. Nella came next, followed by Gorik and Brell. They brought food from the cafeteria, piling it around Danny's bed like offerings at a shrine. Protein bars, dried fruit, hydration packs, snacks, Nella explained, her avian face serious. For your recovery. And for next time. Next time. There is always a next time with humans, apparently. Instructor Morith arrived last. The massive Krellian dismissed the visitors with a gesture, then stood over Danny's bed in silence for a long moment. You broke several Academy regulations, Morith said finally. Unauthorized supply acquisition, exceeding standard kit parameters, engaging with other squads during the test, approaching a Class 7 predator without weapons. Danny waited. You also achieved the highest survival rate in 200 years of crucible testing, Morith continued. 13 cadets alive because of your actions. 3 rescued from certain death. 1 hostile squad converted to allies. 0 losses among those who followed your leadership. I was just trying to help. Yes. Morith's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. That is precisely what concerns the Galactic Council. Danny sat up straighter, ignoring the pain. The Council? Humanity is new to the galactic community. Your species has been observed since first contact, studied, analyzed. Many feared you. A species from a Class 12 deathworld, with impossible endurance and a history of violence. Some believed you would become conquerors. Others argued for preemptive containment. And now they fear you for different reasons. Morith leaned closer. You are not dangerous because you are strong, Cadet Webb. You are dangerous because you care. You help strangers. You sacrifice yourself for people who insulted you. You showed kindness to enemies. That doesn't sound dangerous. It is the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. Morith straightened. Armies can be defeated. Weapons can be destroyed. But kindness? Cooperation? The ability to turn enemies into allies with nothing but generosity? That cannot be stopped. It spreads. It multiplies. It changes everyone it touches. Danny thought about Sorith, who had threatened him and now owed him his life. About Rix, who had mocked humans and now defended them. About the squad that had started as 5 strangers and ended as family. The Crucible is not a survival test, Morith said. It is a leadership assessment. We drop cadets on a death world not to see who survives, but to see who makes others survive. Strength is common. Intelligence is common. But the ability to inspire cooperation, to build trust under pressure, to sacrifice yourself for the group, that is rare. That is what we seek. And humans have it. Humans have it in abundance. Morith turned toward the door. You are being promoted to squad leader effective immediately. Your team will include your original squad mates and whoever else wishes to follow you. I suspect that will be many. He paused at the threshold. Welcome to the Academy, Cadet Webb. I believe you will change everything. The door closed behind him. Danny lay back, staring at the ceiling. Through the window, he could see the stars. Somewhere out there, beyond those points of light, Earth spun around its sun. And on Earth, a 12-year-old girl named Lily was waiting for her brother to come home. The door opened again. Rix, Nella, Gorik, and Brel filed in. Behind them came Yin, Dar, Kessa, and even Sorith. They gathered around his bed, a family built from survival. Rix produced a package and dropped it on Danny's lap. For you. Danny opened it. Inside were snacks. Protein bars, hydration gel, dried meat. Enough supplies for another survival test, if one ever came. We learn from you, Nella said. Be prepared. Help each other. Never give up. That is the human way, Gorik added. Now it is our way, too. Brel pulsed light, the translation soft and warm. Statement. We are squad. We are family. We follow the human. Danny looked at them. 8 different species. 8 different worlds. 8 different evolutionary paths. All of them standing together because one human had refused to let anyone die alone. He thought about the Galactic Council and their fear. About Instructor Morith and his warnings. About the galaxy that was watching humanity and wondering what they would become. Conquerors? Warriors? Threats? No, something far more dangerous. Friends. Danny smiled and reached for a protein bar. Well, if we're going to be a family, we should start with breakfast. Who's hungry? Everyone was.